let's talk about how do we hear. Yeah, our ears. Talk about hearing, the sense of sound. So here, sound is really we're detecting vibrations. Okay? So the information we take from our environment is really vibrations. It's gonna turn it to vibrations at our eardrum. This is our tympanic membrane. But also in the ear, we are handling equilibrium, maintaining ourselves along a vertical line of gravity. Okay? And it's this line that passes through what we call our center of gravity. Okay? Where the most weight, our most weight is concentrated. And so this, in our ear, and the part of our ears that are helping to maintain our equilibrium keeps us from swaying. Okay? It also detects if we're going up or down in the elevator. It also was detecting linear acceleration, like when we're in a car. This is helping our brain understand that we are moving forward at a certain range. Accelerating. So special sense organ. Remember, our special sense organs are housed in the head. So the eye, ear, taste buds, our olfactory epithelium for smell. So for the ear, we have our external ear, our middle ear, and then the internal ear. And this is covering hearing and equilibrium. This is where we have our receptors for hearing and balance. And the receptors for hearing and balance are responding to different stimuli. So they are activated independently of each other. So here we are, our external ear, all about capturing all that sound and directing it into the middle ear. In the middle ear, and here's that external acoustic meatus. Right? Remember that? Of our temporal bone. Now we're going into we're gonna go into the deep recesses of the petrous portion of the temporal bone. Okay, so we're gonna go through that external acoustic meatus to the middle ear. The middle ear is where we find the tympanic membrane, what we call the eardrum. In the middle ear, we also find the smallest bones in the body, the ossicles. 3 bones here. And then in the internal ear, we're gonna be in the labyrinth. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. Where part of it is devoted to hearing, and the other part is devoted to equilibrium. Externally, we have, there's that word. Anytime we see that, we know something looks like an ear. Here is the actual ear, the auricle. Shell shape, we know what our ear looks like. Got our earlobe. If you genetically don't have an earlobe, that's okay. That is a genetic thing, that people don't have an earlobe. I'm married to someone who does not. My kids got earlobe. But some people do not have an earlobe, and they say, okay. That's genetics. And then the external acoustic meatus, right? We traveled through that. Also called the auditory canal. Here we have glands that are secreting sebum oil, but also a cerumen, which is earwax. And through the internal acoustic meatus, we're transmitting sound waves to the eardrum. So in our model, we'll see the auricle, the external auditory meatus, and then we'll be at the middle ear, where we find the tympanic membrane, the eardrum. And at the eardrum, sound waves are going to be changed into vibration. Okay? So sound waves are going to be changed into vibration that are then going to be transferred to the bones in the middle ear. So here is the tympanic membrane. It's cone shaped, but it's flat. external ear from the middle ear. So we'll be transferring sound waves via vibrations to the very small bones in the tympanic cavity. Those are called the auditory ossicles. Malleus, incus, stapes, the names of those three bones. We also have the pharyngotympanic tube, also called the eustachian tube or auditory tube, that connects the, we'll see this when we look at smell, we'll see the nasopharynx, okay? But this, just so you know, this is where, like when you're in the airplane and pressure builds up, it's building up in this tube. Okay, when you pop your ears, you're trying to release pressure in this eustachian, auditory, or pharyngotympanic tube.
Dr. Costa, I have a question. So, like, when you pop your ears, like in your head, like for instance, when I do it, sometimes like the room starts spinning and I get dizzy, like I lose balance.
Maybe that's because all that is there too. But how this affects that, I don't know. How that will affect the vestibular portion going on. Okay. But since it is there, and plus they are sensed differently, so how pressure in that tube will affect the vestibular part, I'm not sure. But definitely know, all that is all in the same place. Yeah. Okay. As we're coming in, the external acoustic meatus will be hit the tympanic membrane, the eardrum. And that will start to vibrate. And that will cause the first bone, malleus, to vibrate. Those vibrations get transferred to the next bone, incus, it will vibrate. And those vibrations will be transferred to the next bone, stapes, and it will vibrate. And it vibrates against what we're going into next. The inner ear, that leads us into the inner ear is called the oval window. And the base of stapes is right up against the oval window. Alright. So here's that pharyngotympanic tube. And here are our auditory ossicles. Can't really make them out too well here, but on that picture we can, that we just saw. Okay. So when we have inflammation in the middle ear, otitis media, this is when we have too much fluid. You have pus because of an infection, causing earache, okay? Real bad stuff, yes. All right, those auditory ossicles. Again, malleus, incus, stapes, three smallest bones in the body, okay? They are joined by synovial joints, okay? There's ligaments that help to suspend them. And they are going to be transmitting vibrations from one to the other. The muscles here are tensor tympani and stapedius, the stapedius muscle that will insert onto the ossicles. When they contract in response to loud noises so that those bones don't vibrate too much. You don't want too much, so those muscles will contract to prevent them from being able to vibrate too much. Okay? We don't want to transfer damaging vibrations to our receptors for hearing and damage them. So we control that vibration via contracting the small muscles that insert onto our ossicles. Okay, so malleus, incus, stapes. Looks like a stirrup. One of these guys look like a hammer. Malleus. Malleus is first. It is actually attached to the eardrum, or the tympanic membrane is the anatomical term for eardrum. It's attached to the eardrum. So the eardrum is first, and right behind in the internal ear, we have malleus that's attached to the inner side of the tympanic membrane. As sound comes in as a wave, it will hit the tympanic membrane and cause it to vibrate. That will then in turn cause malleus to vibrate. This is where tensor tympani inserts that muscle. So if too loud of a sound enters in, malleus won't vibrate crazy. Okay? Next in line is incus. Looks like an anvil. It's attached to malleus. Okay? And malleus passes vibrations to it. And then stapes is attached to incus, but also to the entrance of the inner ear, the oval window. Vibrations are passed from incus to stapes, and then at the oval window, stapes is vibrating. Its vibrations are controlled by the stapedius muscle. So here are malleus and incus attached to each other, compared to a, what is that? A quarter. Okay, here is malleus and incus. Okay, so malleus, incus, and we can't see stapes, but here is the tympanic membrane. Here we can see stapes. Okay. And then right here, where the base of stapes is gonna be the oval window. And that will lead us into the inner ear. So, sounds coming in, waves. It's the tympanic membrane, it vibrates. Malleus vibrates. Incus vibrates. Stapes vibrates right at the oval window. Vibrations. Then behind the oval window is the inner ear. On our model, we will see the entrance into the inner ear, the oval window. Okay? And then there's another opening called the round window that we're talking about. This is how we get in, the inner ear. That consists of the receptors for hearing and for balance and equilibrium. Here we have a membranous labyrinth. So a labyrinth is made of a membrane that's surrounded by the bony labyrinth. A harder structure surrounds the membranous labyrinth. The inner ear is divided into the vestibule, the vestibular organ, and the cochlea. The vestibular organ handles equilibrium and balance. It consists of the vestibule and the semicircular canals. The vestibule is further broken down into the utricle and the saccule. And then we have the cochlea. This handles hearing. Hence, vestibulocochlear nerve. Cranial nerve. Okay? Equilibrium is a psychological sense. Keeps us from falling over. Okay? We, with our various head movements, helps us when it comes to reflexes. Our equilibrium helps us to change positions. Again, it is the vestibule, okay, that is sensing equilibrium, static equilibrium, just when I'm standing here. My vestibule is sensing equilibrium, okay? That's static, still. Linear acceleration, my vestibule is, or the sensory receptors in the vestibule are sensing that I'm moving forward, like when we're in a car. The orientation of the head, I'm going up or down, am I spinning? Okay. We'll see it at the bony labyrinth. Inside the bony labyrinth is a membranous labyrinth. Okay. And inside the bony labyrinth here, there are two membranous sacs, the saccule and the utricle. The saccule contains, is continuous with the cochlear duct that heads into the cochlea that handles hearing. The utricle is continuous with the semicircular canals that we'll see how those, when we're dizzy, is because of stuff happening at our semicircular canals. Okay, so this vestibule is here. This is the vestibule that consists of the utricle and the saccule. And we will see this at the, model. These are the semicircular canals, and this is the cochlea. The saccule and the utricle are going to house our receptors for equilibrium. And we call the regions where our receptors for equilibrium are housed, the macula. See that again? This word, the macula. The macula, and then we have a macula in each of our saccules, okay? And then one in the utricle. So the macula helps to monitor the position of the head. The macula in the utricle, and again, these are, the macula house our receptors for equilibrium. In the utricle, they're responding to horizontal movements, so moving side to side or forward and back, okay, and tilting the head. In the saccule, those receptors in the macula are responding to vertical movements, up and down. So, saccule and the utricle, at them, we have the houses for the sensory receptors for equilibrium in the macula, okay? Each saccule and utricle has a macula in it, where the receptors for equilibrium are. In the utricle, those receptors respond to head movements, moving side to side and back and forth. In the saccule, those are responding to vertical movements. Again, the macula, as houses for our receptors, contain the sensory neurons, which here are called hair cells, as well as their receptors, which are these fine hairs called stereocilia and kinocilia. The hair cells will synapse, okay, with the axons of the vestibular branch. Those neurons will synapse with the vestibular, or the neurons of the vestibular branch of